If you would have told me September 17th that I was going to shoot the Wiry 10, I would have been like, you're crazy, but that's just how it happens sometimes. You know, you get all your summer pictures and you see which deer survived from last year, and you start making game plans to hunt these animals when it comes time in the fall. Coming into the season, we had 2 deer that were really at the top of our hit list, the Big 8 and Floppy. They're 2 deer that we had history with. Both were 4.5 or 5.5 years old, and they're 2 that we really wanted to take. When the season opened, you know, I hunted them as smart as I could, trying to not bump them out of the area, and I could just never catch up with them. There were a lot of times where it seemed like if I hunted a stand and then I'll check that camera, you know, a week or 2 later, they would be in there just an hour after I left, or they were in there the night before, and I could just never quite catch up with them. Then I got word that the Big 8 was shot on the neighboring property. It was just great that someone got to take such a great deer, even if it wasn't me. Then after about 2 weeks after I found out the Big 8 was shot, I got a picture from a friend of a deer that he said was shot pretty close to our farm, and was wondering if I've ever seen it. And at first I kind of blew it off. He had a broken brow tine. He didn't really look that familiar. Then I checked trail cameras, I think the next weekend, and I saw that Floppy had a broken brow tine, and I haven't had any pictures of him recently. And I looked back at the picture and it was definitely Floppy. So both the deer that we wanted to harvest coming into this season have been shot before the rut even started. After finding all this out, I decided to start fresh. I checked all of our cameras and we started getting pictures of this spindly horned 10-point, very old deer. And the more I looked at him, the more I realized he was actually on our farm last year as well. But he only stayed on our farm for a few weeks each fall. We never got summer pictures of him, and he would only show up the last week of October and through November, and then he was gone. When we got pictures of him, I really didn't think too much of him. He really didn't look that impressive. He looked very old, and I knew that if he decided to walk by me, that it was a no-brainer that I was going to shoot him. Then I saw him from the stand one morning, and man, I was wrong. He was way bigger than I thought. He came out into this alfalfa field on some sort of scent trail, not really sure. And before I knew it, he was gone back the same direction he came from. So now it's the weekend before gun season, and my morale is at an all-time low. I've logged so many hours this year, and really over the past 2 years, to not fill my buck tag, and it was starting to wear on me quite a bit. I hunted all morning and saw 1 deer, and I decided that about noon I was going to switch stands to hunt this big ridge that has a lot of doe bedding on it, and I figured he might come scent checking through there. Around 3:30 I heard a noise back farther in the ridge, and I looked and I could see a deer, and I couldn't really tell what it was. Then he turned his head. It was the Wiry 10, and he was heading my way. He was scent checking doe bedding areas, and he was working his way up behind me, and I knew that if he stayed up there, there's no way that I could shoot. But he got to the closest ditch to my left, and he decided that's where he wanted to come down, and I knew, this is it. This is actually happening. He's gonna walk 16 yards right by me, and the rest is history. After I shot him, he ran down the hill, and I was kind of nervous about my shot placement. I could kind of hear him walk for a few minutes, and I never really heard him crash, or so I thought. And so we gave him some time, and it turns out he didn't go more than 70 yards, and he must have just stumbled in the same spot for a while. I just shot the Wiry 10. And it felt so surreal to finally put my hands on this deer. A deer that never even crossed my mind before the season started. Just when you think the season's over, you know, a deer could show up that changes all that in a hurry. He turned out to be by far the biggest deer I've ever taken, and in all honesty, one of the bigger deer I've actually seen while hunting. So I really couldn't be more happy with the way my 2016 archery season ended. it really felt like a dream. It still feels like a dream to put my hands on that animal. He was aged at 6.5 years old, and anyone that knows me knows I don't really care how big the antlers are. I just want to shoot a fully mature deer, and I kind of got the best of both worlds on this animal. I will be forever grateful. Just that feeling of putting your hands on that deer is so surreal, and it's something that you just can't explain to people who haven't felt that feeling. It's like nothing else. It's why we keep doing it. It's why I keep hunting each year. The gratitude and remorse you feel for that animal is just unparalleled, and that's why we keep doing it.